For 37 years, Fort Varga did not exist. No maps marked it, no records acknowledged it, no satellite image held its true shape for more than a few hours before the archive replaced it with empty desert and rock. Officially, the place had been decommissioned in 1989. Officially, it had been stripped, sealed and buried after a structural collapse made recovery impossible. Officially, Fort Varga was a dead Cold War bunker somewhere beneath the Nevada desert, too unstable to reopen and too expensive to remove. That was the official story. It was also a lie. Because in the autumn of 2026, a demolition crew was sent to erase Fort Varga for the second time, and 3 hours after they opened it, the mountain locked itself behind them. At 6:40, the convoy crossed the outer fence. There were 2 trucks, 1 utility rig, 1 armored transport, and 11 personnel. The assignment was simple: confirm the site, survey the structure, clear anything worth salvaging, collapse the entrance, leave. No one expected resistance, no one expected survivors, and no one expected the bunker to still have power. Elias Voss rode in the lead truck and read the same line in the mission brief 6 times before they reached the gate. Site vacant, no internal power, no biological risk. He stopped believing it the moment he saw the lights. Fort Varga sat half buried in the rock face like a scar the desert had failed to heal. Most of the mountain had swallowed it. Concrete walls disappeared into stone. The blast doors were rusted but intact. Old antenna towers leaned against the dawn like broken needles. And above the main entrance, barely visible beneath decades of sand and corrosion, one line of black lettering remained: Fort Varga. Sublevel research and containment. Voss stared at the last word. Containment. He did not like that word. Thought this was a storage site, muttered Ren Hale from the passenger seat. Voss said nothing. Neither did Mara Quinn in the rear. Quinn was the structural engineer, civilian contractor, and the only person on the convoy who looked offended by the entire desert. She had a tablet in one hand, coffee in the other, and had spent the last 2 hours complaining that the site schematics were incomplete. "Because they are fake," she said as the convoy rolled to a stop. She stepped out, looked up at the bunker, and frowned. This place wasn't built for storage. Captain Briggs ignored her. Briggs led the operation the way old steel leads a blade: cold, efficient, and built to cut. "Open it!" 2 men moved to the control housing beside the blast door. The outer panel was older than half the people standing in front of it, but when Specialist Dunn cut the rusted latch and pulled the casing free, the wiring inside looked almost new. No corrosion, no dust, no decay. "Sir," Dunn said quietly, "someone maintained this." Briggs gave him a look. "No one's been here in 37 years. He connected the portable battery. The panel came alive instantly. Not flickering, not failing. Instantly. A soft green light spread across the dead interface. Then, from somewhere deep inside the mountain, something woke up. The sound was low and mechanical. A deep metallic groan rolled through the rock beneath their boots, followed by a distant vibration that felt less like machinery and more like something enormous taking its first breath in decades. Then the blast doors opened. Not all the way. Just enough to let darkness breathe out. Cold air spilled from the gap. Not desert cold, not underground cold, sterile cold, air-conditioned, filtered, alive. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Quinn whispered the one sentence no one wanted to hear. "This place still has power." Inside, Fort Varga was immaculate. Dust coated the outer threshold, but only the threshold. 10 feet in, the dust ended. Beyond it stretched a corridor of polished concrete, steel bulkheads, and dim white overhead lights humming with low electric life. The air smelled wrong. Not rot, not age, antiseptic. Like a hospital sealed in ice. Every footstep echoed too cleanly, every sound traveled too far. Voss felt it immediately, the pressure of a place that should have been dead and was not. They moved in. 11 personnel, 2 stayed at the entrance, 9 entered the facility. The first level looked administrative. Barracks, storage, mess hall, security office. Everything sat exactly where it should have been. Chairs tucked under tables, coffee mugs still on counters, clipboards still hanging from hooks. A deck of cards lay spread across a break table in the rec room. Half-finished game frozen in place. No dust touched it, no decay, no bodies, no bones, no sign that anyone had ever left. Quinn crouched beside one of the mugs in the mess. She touched the ceramic, then froze. "It's warm." Nobody answered. Nobody needed to. The coffee inside had turned black decades ago, but the mug was warm. Briggs ordered the first full sweep. Every room, every corridor, everything recorded. At 7:12 they found the first warning. It was painted by hand across the inner security checkpoint in red block letters. "Do not open level 3. No signature, no explanation, just the words, fresh enough to still look wet beneath the emergency lights. Hale read it twice, then laughed once, too quietly. "Nope." Briggs kept walking. Level 2 sat below the administrative wing. Medical, research, observation. That was where Fort Varga stopped pretending to be a bunker. The lower doors were reinforced. The walls were thicker. Windows along the central hall were not designed to look out. They were designed to look in. Labs sat behind them. Observation rooms, isolation wards, restraint chairs bolted to floors, medical tables with straps, heavy glass chambers large enough to hold men, or something built like them. Quinn stopped at one observation window and stared into the dark room beyond it. What the hell were they doing here? No one answered. Voss found the answer 20 minutes later. The records room still had power. He activated the central terminal and found the archive waiting. No password, no encryption. Almost as if someone had wanted it found. Project Orpheus. Sublevel Behavioral Adaptation Trials. Authorized by Defense Intelligence Command. He kept reading. Human endurance, isolation conditioning, sensory deprivation, sleep removal, cognitive fracture, stress obedience. It began as psychological research. Then the files changed. Containment protocols, subject aggression escalation, mimetic behavior, voice replication, identity dissolution. Voss felt the blood drain from his face. "What is mimetic behavior?" Hale asked from behind him. Voss kept reading. Subjects demonstrated advanced social imitation. Vocal replication improved after exposure. Subjects no longer respond consistently to original identities. Quinn stepped closer. "What does that mean?" Voss swallowed. "It means whatever they kept down here learned how to sound human." Silence filled the room. Then Dunn's voice cracked over comms. Movement on lower stairwell. Everyone froze. "Say again," Briggs snapped. Dunn answered, quieter this time. "Motion sensor just tripped below us." Level 3. No one had gone down. Briggs ordered everyone back to Central Hall, fast. No one argued now. They regrouped at the security door leading to the lower stairwell. Stamped across the steel in fading white letters, Sublevel 3. Containment. The door was already open, not wide, just enough to show darkness beyond it. No one admitted opening it. No one had to. Something down there had. Then the lights changed. Every overhead strip in the hall flickered once, then turned red. A mechanical voice rolled through hidden speakers, calm and female and decades too clear. "Containment breach detected. Sealing internal access." The blast doors slammed shut behind them. The sound hit like artillery. The mountain locked. Comms died instantly. No signal, no outside line, no uplink. Fort Varga had sealed itself. And it had sealed them inside. Then they heard footsteps below. Slow, measured, human. One step at a time, something began climbing toward them from level 3. Hale raised his rifle first, Dunn back toward the wall. Quinn did not move at all. The footsteps reached the top of the stairwell and stopped just beyond the dark. Then a voice drifted out, weak, breathless, human. "Please." Everyone froze. It was Dunn's voice. Dunn was standing 10 feet away. The thing in the dark spoke again. Same voice, same breath, same fear. "Don't let it out." Dunn went white. "No." The voice below him smiled without changing tone. Then it spoke again, this time in Quinn's voice. Elias, then Hales, then Briggs, then one by one, perfect and clean, it repeated each of them back to themselves. Not imitation, not mimicry. Recognition. It knew them because it had already listened. The lights failed. Darkness swallowed the hall. Then the screaming started. No one ever agreed what happened in the next 90 seconds. Only fragments survived. Gunfire in a closed corridor. Muzzle flashes strobing steel walls, something moving too fast between them. Dunn firing into the dark and hitting Briggs. Hale screaming for someone to close the door. Quinn dragged across tile. A voice crying for help in 6 different voices at once. Then silence. When the emergency lights returned, 3 people were missing. Dunn, Hale, Briggs. No blood, no bodies. Just their weapons on the floor. And the stairwell door opened wider than before. Voss wanted to leave. There was nowhere to go. The entrance was sealed. The mountain was closed. Only one route remained, down. Quinn was shaking now, but alive. "There has to be a control core," she said. "If this place sealed itself, it can unseal itself." Voss looked at the open stairwell. "And where is that?" She already knew. Level 3. They went down because the alternative was waiting to be hunted. The stairwell descended farther than it should have. Concrete became steel. Steel became older metal beneath it. Something darker, thicker, almost industrial. Level 3 was not a lab. It was a prison. Rows of containment cells lined a circular chamber beneath the mountain. Some stood open. Most had been torn apart from the inside. At the center of the chamber stood a glass control room suspended above the floor. Inside it, a single terminal still glowed, and beneath it, written across the concrete in old black paint, were the final instructions Fort Varga had ever received. "Do not let them learn your voice." Quinn stopped breathing. Voss finally understood. It had never been one thing. It had been many. The cells had not held a prisoner. They had held copies, subjects, failures, echoes. Project Orpheus had not created stronger soldiers. It had created something that learned people by hearing them. Voice, behavior, memory. Then replaced them. The personnel of Fort Varga had not vanished. They had been copied, consumed, used, and when the staff realized what they had built, they sealed Level 3 and buried the mountain on top of it. They had not abandoned Fort Varga. They had locked it shut, to keep what was inside from ever leaving. Then the terminal activated on its own. One final archive began to play. A man appeared on the screen in grainy black and white, exhausted, bloody, terrified. The final commander of Fort Varga. He stared into the camera like he was staring through time. "If this facility opens, containment has failed. Do not attempt recovery. Do not attempt rescue. There are no survivors in Fort Varga. If it speaks to you, it has heard you. If it sounds afraid, it is feeding. If it sounds human, it is already outside." The screen cut to black. Then Quinn whispered, "Elias." He turned. She was staring past him. Not at him, behind him. Voss turned slowly. Someone stood in the dark between the broken cells. Captain Briggs. Or something wearing him. Its face was almost right. Its smile was not. Then it spoke in Voss's own voice. "You should have left the door closed."